Okay, today we're going to be going over absolute and comparative advantage. So what we have are two production possibility curves, one for Mexico, one for the United States. And in this model, there's only going to be these two countries and two items. So they both produce avocado and soy, avocado and soy. Now, these countries don't know each other and they have not traded yet, and we're going to try to figure out if they're better at making something, we should compare their opportunity cost and allow them to specialize in trade. Specialization in trade allows a country to consume more than they could produce on their own. So their consumption possibilities will exceed their production possibilities. So the way we want to begin with this is talk about absolute advantage. So absolute advantage means that one country can simply produce more. And it's within a given time, it's within the same resources, it can be with the same people, whatever the factors that country has compared to another. So the United States, as you can see, can create or make 90 avocados if they choose to make only avocados and 0 soybean. So compared to Mexico, who could make 60 avocados if they only focus on making those, and therefore would get 0 soybean. So 90 is greater than 60. So the U.S. in production of avocados has absolute advantage. They can make 90. In soybeans, the U.S. also has absolute advantage because they can make 60, as in Mexico can only make 15. I'm sorry, this should be 30. I wrote that wrong. But anyways, so they can make 30, as in Mexico can only make 15. Let me make that a little bit clearer. So that way, if you need to pause and draw this whole thing, that's a 60, 15, 90, and 30. So they can make 30. So the absolute advantage goes to the United States in both things. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're more efficient at making them. So in the United States, avocados physically don't grow well because we don't have the climate. Mexico has better climate, soil, everything else for production of those. So now what we need to look at is comparative advantage. So if they don't know each other and they consume, the United States likes both products. So they like 33 units of avocado and 19 of soybean, and this is what we call their allocative efficiency. Mexico is producing 24 units of avocado and 9. So what we want to do is know what it costs in terms of the other item when you choose to produce one. Remember trade-offs and opportunity costs from our last lesson when it comes to the production possibilities curve. More of item B costs you some of item A, and vice versa. So the way we're going to set this up is we're going to look at Mexico, and we can kind of take this and leave it by itself over here. Okay, so now we're going to take Mexico and the U.S., and we want to know who has comparative advantage. So what we're comparing is opportunity cost. What does it cost you in order to make the other item? So I'm going to set this up. Avocado, avocado, soybean, and soybean. So I want to know in Mexico, 1 avocado is equal to how many soybean? 1 soybean is equal to how many avocado? Same thing for the U.S. I want to set them up the same. 1 avocado is equal to how many soybean? And 1 soybean is equal to how many avocado? So when we do this, we're going to take the max production, put it in a fraction, and reduce. So for the United States, the max production of avocado is 90 and 0. If they wanted to make only soybean, it'd be 30 and 0. So we're going to take this 90 over 30, put it in a fraction, and reduce. So we'll take our max production of each item and reduce. So the U.S. is 90 avocado over 30 soybean. That is going to reduce down to 3 avocado to 1 soybean. So I know that every time the United States chooses to produce 1 soybean, it costs them the chance to produce 3 avocados because all resources are not as equally suited. So I'm solving it right here. 1S equals to 3A. So up here, 1 soybean equals to 3 avocado. And then I can simply take the reciprocal to find out one avocado is going to cost them how many soybeans? 1/3. So now let's do that for the other side, for Mexico. I know that they can produce 60 or 15. So 60 avocado over 15 soybean is going to be equal to 4 avocado over 1 soybean. So every time they choose to make 1 soybean, they give up the chance to produce 4 avocados. Now, up here, I simply put my 4 avocados, then my reciprocal, 1/4. So these are our trade-offs. If Mexico chooses to produce 1 avocado, it costs them the opportunity to produce 1/4 of a soybean. If they choose to produce 1 soybean, it costs them the opportunity to produce 4 avocado. So we're going to find out who has the lower cost. So that lower cost, we're going to use, avocados are green, so we'll use a green marker. So now I can look at this. Avocado cost them 1/4 of a soybean and 1/3 of a soybean for the United States. So 1/4 is less than 1/3. So I know that Mexico is going to be producing the avocados. They have comparative advantage. So when it comes to comparative advantage in terms of avocado or soy, avocado is going to be Mexico because they can produce it at a lower cost than the United States in terms of producing soybean. So when it comes to soybeans, who's going to have the lower opportunity cost? Let's use orange, because aren't you glad soybeans are here? I don't know. So 1 soybean costs Mexico 4 avocados. It costs the United States 3 avocados. So 3 is less than 4. They have a lower opportunity cost. So every time they produce 1 soybean, the opportunity cost of producing 3 avocados is lower than Mexico's 4. So I know the United States is going to have comparative advantage in soybeans. Now, if one country has absolute, that doesn't mean they have comparative. So now I know that soybeans should be produced by the United States. So now I have my comparative advantage for soybeans, and I have my comparative advantage for Mexico. So now we're going to look at what's called gains of trade. So gains from trade, the whole world right now is producing 24 plus 33 equals 57 avocados. I'm supposed to say avo. So avocados, we're enjoying 57. If we look at the world, Mexico is making 24 and the U.S. is making 33. But we decided that Mexico is better. They have comparative advantage. That means they make it more efficiently because it costs them less, or it's cheaper for them to make the avocados. So they should specialize and only worry about making 0 soybean so they can focus on making all the avocado they possibly can. So Mexico is now going to make 60. So if we compare 60 to the 57, the world is going to come out plus 3, and so we have a gain of trade. So our gain of trade, the world now gets more. So Mexico is going to produce avocados better than they could previously throughout the whole world. So now they'll make avocados and they'll trade with the United States. So when it comes to gains of trade on soy, the world, Mexico is making 9, the United States is making 19. So 9 plus 19 equals 28. So now we solved over here that our comparative advantage, the United States should be making the soybeans because they make it more efficiently or more cheaper. 3 is less than 4. So now I know that the United States can focus on making 0 avocado, and then they can increase their production of soy all the way to 30. So now that 30 that the U.S. makes, because that's all they're going to focus on, is going to give us a gain of plus 2. So now the world production of soybeans and avocados has improved through specialization in trade. We know who should make what because they can make it at a lower opportunity cost. And that is how we solve for absolute and comparative advantage.